Maharjan. I'm the processing archivist for Rutgers Special Collections and University Archives, also known as SCUA. And I'm currently overseeing the Federal Work Study program for our students who usually work in the archive. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about the experience of bringing work study home. For those who don't know who we are, Special Collections and University Archives is located in the basement of Alexander Library on the College Avenue campus. We collect materials relating to the history of New Jersey as a whole and the history of the university dating back to its founding in 1766. We're a bit of a different library. Our materials do not circulate, so you need to come to our reading room to use our materials. So you can find our materials in the library catalog as you would most other things. The purpose of the Federal Work Study program is to provide students with valuable career experience, whether that be project management, customer service, or even something as simple as how to show up to work on time. In the pre-pandemic times, our Federal Work Study students staffed our information desk where our patrons would sign in to our reading room to use it. They would shelve books, they'd work in our conservation labs preparing exhibits and creating housing for books and other archival materials, and they would complete projects for faculty and staff. Here at the bottom left, we have a student who's measuring a book for a cradle that was going to go on display in an exhibit. The top left is a student making buttons. The center is a student who is working with staff to digitize materials. The top right is a student making an enclosure for a rather large book. And the bottom is a student who is cleaning leather shin guards, which were part of our Rutgers football exhibit. So as you can see, our students do a variety of things as part of their Federal Work Study program. And then last March, the libraries and the university and the world all closed, and our students went home. For the work study program, it was basically put on hold, and the students were simply paid out their hours that they would have worked. But in August, it was decided that the libraries, who are the third largest federal work study employer on the New Brunswick campus, would do a remote work study. With just 1 month to figure out how we were going to do this, we needed to move fast because the work that these students traditionally do is physical and in the library. So here we needed to pivot to something new. After some quick deliberation, along with the library's student coordinator group, it was decided that we were going to give the students personal and professional development skills. I spoke to friends, family, and recent college graduates to ask what were the things that they wished they had learned in school. Sorry to anyone who may be in the sciences, but the mitochondria did not necessarily come up as something that they needed to learn. It was more basic skills like nutrition and meal planning, financial literacy, time management, self-care, resume building, and interviewing. From there, I had to come up with a 15-week curriculum for our students. And here's probably where I should mention that being the supervisor of the Federal Work Study students is not part of my usual job. So I wanted to have this whole program organized before the beginning of the fall semester so I could actually spend my time doing the work that I normally do. I wanted to make the program completely asynchronous to allow our students to accommodate their class schedules as well as any personal commitments they may have while living at home. Each of the students complete about 6 hours of work each week. And here's a picture of the students and I during our week 1 orientation, which is the only time we have been together. This is the breakdown of the 2020 program that I presented. We used a lot of LinkedIn learning tutorials, which the students had access to through their Rutgers credentials, but also TED Talks, YouTube videos, library resources, and other online readings and resources that would help round out each week. Personally, the only weeks that I felt confident in teaching were Rutgers history and libraries and archives. Because of this, I needed to vet all of the information in advance to see if it was going to be worth our students' time. I was lucky enough to work with Christy Champion of Meadowlark Consulting, Supervision, and Consulting to help compile content for the self-care and mindfulness, as well as the work-life balance week. But for other weeks, such as the remote research and legal issues of information, and by that I mean things like copyright and FERPA, we were able to utilize materials and quizzes that the libraries already had available. But since it's been many years since I've applied for things like summer jobs and internships, I forgot how early our students are applying. So I had originally planned that if we were going to continue in the spring semester, that we were going to do resume and interview building, but my students quickly came back to me saying that they were interviewing or wanted to apply for positions over the summer and really wanted to focus on those two topics. So instead, I needed to quickly pivot and create content for them. While I suggested using things like the Career Services, the Career Center at Rutgers, I really wish I had been able to collaborate with them to create some more resources for them, but instead they got just some names of people to maybe contact there. Obviously, spring semester did not quite go as we had all planned, and we were still remote. So this time I had a little bit more leeway in planning the spring semester, and I kind of knew what I was doing in creating it. So I was able to work with experts in their respective fields to craft the topics for the students. I worked with the Office of Academic Success on the Studying and Study Tips Week. I worked with a finance professor on a week of personal finance, which gave the students a variety of options of topics to focus on. I believe that each of my students worked on the modules of saving and budgeting as well as taxes, but everyone picked different topics along the way, such as car expenses, paying for college, and even investment and retirement. I like that they're looking ahead. After the whole GameStop Reddit stock market event that happened, I realized that I didn't fully even understand what was happening. My film studies, histories, and library science degrees did nothing to help me understand what was happening and why it was so important. So I reached out to an economics professor to provide me with tools to provide a 6-week economics crash course. She generously agreed. So I was able to give them a little bit more of an understanding of what was happening. And for students who may not necessarily take economics, I kind of gave them the general understanding and myself as well. I was also able to work with a nutrition educator from the Family and Community Health Science program at the Rutgers Agricultural Experiment Station to help find some quality information on nutrition and meal planning. And what was the most important and most useful to our students was how to eat healthy on a very limited budget. The rest of the spring semester, we are currently and will continue to focus on soft skills, the non-technical, interpersonal types of skills that will make our students more successful in whatever jobs they get moving forward, but also in the skills that they'll have when they return to work in the libraries. Overall, we've had very positive reviews from the students. While some have noted that some weeks feel more like an additional class, they have said that these skills will help them move forward in life and in the workforce. And thanks to the week on nutrition, we all are drinking more water. And the next step for me is to really consider how we move forward with this information. While we all hope to be back together in the fall semester, I need to start thinking of other topics if we do have to run this program again. The other questions that I would like to think about are how do we use these skills of these students when they return to campus? And which of the topics that were discussed as part of these programs would be good for new students as they begin to work with us in special collections and in the libraries? For now, I think we're all just trying to make it to the end of the semester in hopes that we will be together soon. While I'm sorry that we can't be together for this conference, I look forward to any questions you may have. You're welcome to reach out by email or the Rutgers Special Collections Twitter, which I manage. So thank you.